Show me in the unwritten rules where it says you can't cut Luke's dick off again. Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
And we read a chapter.
Hive 5.7.
Thank you. I did not remember the number.
Yeah, well, 5 point in the middle of a battle. It's tough to keep your 6s, 7s, and 8s straight.
It's true. They are all at 6s and 7s in this chapter. So it's appropriate. This was an action-packed one. I suspect, though I could be wrong, I suspect we're not going to have a ton to say about it because it's mostly just, a slice of a good fight. But we can certainly, get into some of the fun action beats.
Yeah, I'm sure I wouldn't be surprised if we find one particular sentence to speculate about for, 15 or 20 minutes. We can only hope.
Do you have one in mind?
No, I don't.
I thought maybe there was like a
the
really
listeners
killer
already
sentence.
know they're looking at like a 21-minute episode and they're like, oh, Ted, you're so wrong.
Hey, you don't have to predict things accurately. That's my job.
Yeah. So I think odd chapter this arc, that means I summarize.
Sounds good.
Where we last left Taylor, she was outside of the ABB warehouse, having just kind of sent her bugs along with Bitch and Neuter in, and they learned that not only is Oni Lee there, who just incapacitated Neuter, but Loong is there.
Do you mean he neutered Neuter?
Oh, that is what I mean. So we pick up this chapter with Taylor telling Sundancer and Labyrinth, who she's standing with, that Loong is here. She's also still on the phone with Bitch, and Taylor says, okay, look, Loong is fighting Kaiser. Kaiser has blocked Bitch off from getting to them, and Taylor's like, that's fine. Our priorities are Neuter and Oni Lee. It's too difficult to get upstairs riding the dogs to check on Neuter. So their plan is to draw him outside, and Taylor's like, cool, I'm going in. And Sundancer's like, what are you doing? But Taylor is like ready to go. She's got her baton and her knife, and that's enough to get up into the action. And Bitch rides out on the dogs, jumps up to the second floor, and we get a reminder of Oni Lee's power, which is that he can teleport around the battlefield, leaving duplicates of himself behind that after a few seconds disappear into a puff of white ash. But during those seconds, they can continue to attack. So there's always multiple Oni Lees kind of on the battlefield, and you can only hurt him if you can hurt his current body.
Mm-hmm.
Attacking the clones doesn't do anything. So he starts zipping around. He appears behind Bitch and is about to slit her throat, basically, when his clone gets taken out by the sniper team. So it's a really close call, and then Oni Lee warps up to get a view of the surroundings and then warps over to the roof where the snipers are and, throws the rifle off of the roof, and Taylor's trying to recuperate, figure out a plan, but then Oni Lee is back and he's attacking the dogs. He, at one point, is both holding Taylor, like her arms behind her back, while he appears in front of her, and she's trying to get him off of her by kicking him, and, then the clones disappear and they're surrounded by ash. Oni Lee seems to be taking this tactic of he's just spending a few seconds attacking everybody on the field, so he bounces over to Sundancer and Labyrinth. It looks like he hurts Sundancer before he bounces somewhere else again. And while this is happening, Taylor notices something, which is that she's been having her swarm kind of spread around the area so that as soon as one of Oni Lee's clones appears, or really when his actual self appears before he becomes a clone, the bugs will be able to tell her where he is. Once she starts attacking him with the bugs and stinging him, she realizes that when he teleports, the bugs go with him and additional copies are created. So just by having bugs on him, she can know exactly where he is as soon as he appears. So once she makes that connection, she starts basically calling the shot, being like, okay, bitch, he's over there, okay, he's over there, which is enough to basically make sure that he can't get the drop on them anymore. And they retreat to where Sundancer and Labyrinth are. Suddenly, the battlefield starts warping around Taylor. It's this really trippy, sort of illusory effect that we learn is Labyrinth's power. And Labyrinth touches Taylor and dismisses the effect, but it still seems to be changing Oni Lee's perception of the battlefield in some way. So Taylor can track where he's appearing. He's disoriented because of what Labyrinth is doing. And even as he comes on the attack, suddenly there is a sniper shot from one of Coil's soldiers. This is a soldier who has had his rifle thrown off the roof, been thrown off the roof himself, seems to have broken his leg in a horrible way, but still manages to shoot Oni Lee, the original Oni Lee version, which means even as he teleports, he then collapses to his knees and can continue to be attacked. And as soon as this happens, maybe 1 or 2 warps later, Oni Lee disappears from Taylor's range entirely. He has retreated. Taylor takes a brief moment to say, hey, sniper guy, you okay? Hey, Sundancer, you okay? All right, we got to go help Neuter. And we end the chapter with Taylor, Sundancer, and Bitch heading back into the warehouse to see what's going on with Neuter.
Yeah, really exciting one.
Yeah. I mean, pretty detailed play-by-play. I probably could have just said, like, they fight Oni Lee, but it's really fun to see how the powers work.
I mean, that's what happened in this chapter,
Yeah. I think, like, you were saying a little bit, like, you tried to read this chapter earlier today a little more casually, and you were like...
Like, during the workday, I was like, no, it's too action-packed, it's too tense, I need to be able to focus emotionally as well as just, keeping track.
I love the way Wildbow writes the power combat, especially from Taylor's point of view. Like, there's this moment early in the chapter when Bitch, riding one of the dogs, comes outside of the building, and then you can see through a hole in the wall another dog running up the stairs. And, it's very well described. You understand exactly what's happening. It's very cinematic.
He does a great job of sticking to her point of view, but finding ways to let her know what's going on.
Yes.
Well enough that the reader can follow what's going on. So, like, she's not omniscient in the battle. Like, she doesn't really know what's happening with Loom. No one's gotten through the screen of metal that Kaiser put up.
Right.
She's kind of like, let Kaiser deal with him. So we don't see any of that. And there are moments when she's, like, confused. She doesn't know where Oni Lee is, but we get enough to be able to track what's going on. Like, the fact that part of the building had exploded earlier is really helpful. She just has, good sight lines to everything. And then, of course, her bugs are hugely informative. She knows a lot of what's going on in the battle just because she has these extra, not quite eyes, but sort of eyes.
Yeah. And some of those moments do a really good job of creating that tension where, because Taylor's in the dark, you as a reader are, like, working with her to figure out, like, what is going on. So
it's part of the fun discovery of what's going on is figuring it out alongside Taylor.
Yeah, like there's the bit where, Oni Lee's going and dealing with Sundancer and Labyrinth, and all Taylor can see is like, Sundancer looks hurt. But we don't get any more information till the end of the chapter. So you're like, oh no, what happened to... Like, you're kind of worried a little bit, but you don't get the answer right away. I actually
wrote in my notes, I was like, do we think Sundancer's hurt? Or is this, like, the posture she has to assume to enact her power?
Yeah.
I was like, maybe we're going to see Sundancer's power. And it didn't go that way. It turns out she was hurt, and instead we saw Labyrinth's power. But, like, that was also, I kind of had a sense, like, one of these two is going to have to come into play, and then they did. And it's a really effective, like, everything isn't all happening at once. Like, we get sort of some layering effects. So, like, what happened last chapter with the hostages? Who knows what they were? And, rushing into the building, finding the explosives, the hostages. This chapter was all about the fight with Oni Lee. We started out by saying, like, we have to save Neuter. We actually didn't go to Neuter at all. But it was Oni Lee, and mostly we're focused on his power, and then Labyrinth's power kind of came layering in. And in the middle there, we also got, like, Coil's guys being snipers. That wasn't really a surprising power. It didn't need as much focus to explore.
Right.
But yeah, this sort of introducing each cool power in turn, so that we can spend a little bit of time with it.
Yeah, and it's in a way that makes sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
We established last chapter that basically Oni Lee and Lung are here. So, like, on the one hand, they're the only threats, but they're also very formidable threats on their own, right? And so part of the fun in this chapter is, like, the only reason Oni Lee isn't killing all of them is because they're, like, slightly too many threats for him to deal with. Like, in an orderly manner. So just the fact that he has to jump between Bitch and Taylor and the snipers on the roof and Sundancer and Labyrinth, like that feels like sort of the reason why they're able to figure out the winning combo, which is bugs to track him and snipers to shoot him.
And of course, one of the things that Wildbow did last chapter to set this up really well is he had Kaiser do this move where he's like, we're going to go around the other side of the building. And that served some character purpose at the time as well. As Taylor's like, no, we're not supposed to split up. And Kaiser's like, yeah, well, screw you. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
And then, does what he wants. And the result is that they've sort of divided, which means that, like I was just saying, we don't have to see everything at once. It's possible to focus on just one part of the battle. Yeah.
There was one other, like, little mystery just across a couple of paragraphs that was, like, really good tension building that I just saw. When Oni Lee appears, he whipped his arm in my direction. I didn't have any time to do much more than turn in his direction before something collided with my head. I stumbled and fell over backwards. Skipping ahead a little bit. As I lay there trying to parse what had just happened, I realized that a small knife was embedded in the armored section of my mask, cracking the lens. A throwing knife? Like, I just love the really procedural level detail of, like, this is as much as Taylor is aware of in the moment. Something, his arm moves quickly, and I get hit with something, and then it takes her a little bit to figure it out. And you could definitely
go too far with that and try to describe, like, every sensation or something. And I think Wildbow does a really good job of, like, synthesizing and summarizing what's happening. Like, something hits her and she falls over.
Yeah.
Well, still letting there be that mystery. Like, she hasn't figured out what it is.
I don't know that I would be able to, like, recognize this if we got the opposite, but I guess it's almost a good example of just, like, show don't tell versus like, and then he pulled out a throwing knife and threw it at me. Like, you might not in reading that realize, like, well, how does she know what it is? I
don't think it's show don't tell. I think it's point of view. I think it's a really good use of point of view. Like, this is very, this is first person. We are very embedded in her point of view, and he does a good job of keeping us there while also not making us confused in a way that kind of knocks us out of the story. Like, the confusion, like you were just saying, is used to a really good purpose. It's like, oh, there's a little bit of a mystery. We're willing to go with the story for a couple of paragraphs before finding out what it is.
And this is something I'm just remembering, like, back in the very first chapter of Worm, when the juice is dumped on Taylor. There's just a beat in the stall where, like, when she realizes what's going to happen, she runs to the door, and it's, like, just too late because somebody's already there blocking it. Like, just, like, that level of detail about, like, moment to moment, what is Taylor trying to do in a stressful situation is just so compelling. And I guess it's compelling because of how close we are to her perspective, as well as just kind of the exciting nature of a superhero fight overall.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it's clear that writing combat is a real strength of Wildbow's, which I think is probably, like, part of what makes this work just so fun to read. Is I assume there's going to continue to be a lot of combat, and it's all both compelling in a small scale, like you really enjoy the beat by beat, going through it. And it's also all, like, tied to really fun thematic stuff. Like, I'm still so curious about Labyrinth's power and personality. Like, who is she? We learned some cool things about her here. We still don't know anything about Sundancer, and I'm so intrigued by the Travelers. Like, Kaiser is such a problem. Like, I kind of like Fault Line's crew and, like, want to learn more about them. And then, of course, we get the ABB problem, which is sort of this big problem of this arc or next few arcs or something like that.
Yeah. And
there's so many different levels.
Yeah, I can't predict what's going to happen.
But I can.
Loong is here. Taylor is here. Like, that
is actually my prediction for the next chapter. So this was kind of the Oni Lee chapter. Now they're going in to try to rescue Neuter. And I assume that this is when Loong is going to come into play. Like, that feels like it should be the next beat in the combat. It's possible it'll be something else unexpected, but it seems like Oni Lee has taken himself off the field, at least somewhat, for the moment.
Out of range. And Taylor has long range right now for some reason. So that's like 4 city blocks away.
No, but she's gathered all the bugs nearby to a relatively small radius. It's not, she doesn't have, the air isn't thick with bugs everywhere.
I guess that's true.
Oh, though I guess if he had bugs on him when he disappeared, and she can't tell where the bugs reappear, you might be right. You might be right.
I think I was right for the wrong reason. I was just picturing unexplained locust swarm, which is not what Taylor is doing.
I'd be surprised if he can teleport that far.
Well, that's kind of why it was notable.
Yeah. Right? Wow.
But I buy that it's just he really retreated.
Yeah. Maybe he shouldn't have any bugs on him at that moment.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts about Oni Lee?
Ooh, yeah. I was looking up. So Oni is sort of a mischievous chaos spirit, sort of a gremlin demon type word in Korean, and it really is how he fights. It's like well characterized. Yeah, that he is just so in chaos. He's so powerful.
Yeah.
This ability to not just disappear and kind of duck, blows or attacks that way, and not just to leave behind a clone that's sort of a decoy, but also to have the clone or decoy be able to fight for you.
Yeah.
So Taylor was saying he's leaving his doubles to do the dirty work.
Right. All he has to do is every second teleport to a new place.
Yeah.
And the doubles are the ones. And they can afford to be so much more reckless and fight so much harder.
Right, because they have nothing to lose.
Would otherwise. Yeah. It's another kind of variation on a power like Taylor's, where she has this swarm of bugs that are disposable. He has his own disposable copies that are still very capable.
Yeah, it means we can get a lot of violence in this fight without a lot of harm being done.
Yeah.
And he just has, infinite chances. He can leave a clone to do something dangerous and maybe it's not likely to succeed, but he can do that 15 times in a row and some of the blows are going to get through. And that's why we did have a lot of injuries of the other people in this chapter. I
do wonder, if it had just been Taylor and Bitch, I sort of assume that he would have just made, 10 copies of himself and been able to easily kill them that way. And it's sort of the fact that, more or less, the threat that the snipers posed meant that he had to keep jumping around, because if he stays in one place for too long, he's too much of a target. Well, but yeah, I wonder, on the other hand, becoming a swarm of 10 guys in order to kill someone doesn't really fit his assassin vibe. Right, it'd be a little too obvious. Yeah.
I also wonder if there are limits on how many of him there can be at a time, or how fast he can teleport, or how many times he can do it in a row. Right. I'm sure it must be exhausting. We've already seen powers wiping people out in this story. Yeah. So I assume that what he just did, we saw his reaction times getting slower at the end. Partly that might have been confusion, the landscape was getting all weird, easy to make mistakes, and he was getting a little bit hurt, he kind of fell from the air. But part of it might have been, he was wearing out. Yeah. And I feel now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'm not, his power is very impressive, but maybe I'm not that impressed with him, because when he's 2v1 on Taylor, he gets her in an arm hold and then she just kicks him and then he's out of time, right? Taylor's not trained in this stuff, except sort of casually with Brian over the past week. And, he manages to throw the knife at her, and, that would have been deadly if she hadn't had a helmet on, probably. Right, yeah. I think it is what I just said. He goes for quantity over quality. Exactly. Each assassination attempt doesn't need to be foolproof or super well thought through. And he's, jumping around, so he's, physically always trying to get his bearings, and he's probably, not ideally situated to do any of these things. But he just has so many opportunities to try, and he does get some blows in against various people. That's really fun. I bet there's something there. We don't get anything about, his personality. He's just, a cool power that we fight and run away. But I do wonder if there's something, I like that quantity over quality assassin thing as an insight into who he is. And possibly when he is being a little bit less... pulled in this many directions, he might be able to do some slicker assassinations. Right. Because, at the beginning, it seems like he would have gotten Bitch if he hadn't gotten shot by the snipers. Yeah. And, if he hadn't been in danger, they do sort of kill many of his clones, just, a little bit too late. So, they are applying a lot of pressure. Yeah, so satisfying when they finally got a shot to his chin. I know. Oh, my God. It's so good. The Coil soldiers are so professional. Seriously.
And so cool. Like, we know this guy does not have superpowers. He's a normal guy who got knocked off of a roof and broke his leg, still recovered his rifle, and managed to be with it enough that when Taylor, spun around and pointed, there he is, that he could take the
I feel like that's such a fun trope, too. Just the, because you have all these quirky superpower people, and then you just have, the very professional soldier who's just very, very good at his job.
Yeah. The guy who's like, we're going up on the roof. Yeah. Don't tell us
no
what
nonsense. To do. Just getting it done.
And then at the end, he's just like, yeah, I'm fine. It's also another example of guns being very effective. We had a Tattletale's gun in Arc 3, and we have the sniper here. It's kind of a fun, level set of, I guess just that capes have to worry about stuff that is deadly to normal people. Being a cape, not everybody is a Glory Girl or an Alexandria type.
Right.
An Aegis.
I mean, Glory Girl got taken down by the guns.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me, there's a scene in Buffy where a demon has shown up at a bank, and Buffy's there trying to get a loan. And she doesn't get in the fight right away. She's all dressed all professionally for her loan meeting, so she's her skirt is too long and she can't fight. So there's a police officer trying to shoot this demon, and finally Buffy gets it together and she pulls the gun out of his hand and is like, these? Never helpful. Throws it away and attacks the demon. And that is sometimes a thing in sort of these fantasy, superpower worlds where it's guns. What are you going to do with a gun? But that's not at all the case in this world. It's no, the gun is still incredibly powerful. And of course, I feel like there are many demons in Buffy who could have been taken out with a gun. It's just, but it's not part of the aesthetic. And that moment was almost lampshading it. It's no, this is a hand-to-hand combat world. And Worm is not that. It's an all types of combat world.
Yes. Now, to that point, what did you make of Taylor's immediate, I gotta get in there moment?
I loved that.
Because she doesn't have a combat power based on her body. She only has her spider suit, helmet, knife, and baton.
Yeah, but she's a hero.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's the answer.
Her teammate is in trouble. Bitch also doesn't have individual combat powers.
Oni Lee's a freaking assassin. I can't leave bitch on her own.
Yeah. What she says. Yes. What a hero. She, just like bitch, has creatures that she controls in a different way than bitch controls hers. And her creatures are completely different in scale. But, she is not going to leave bitch in there to take the risk on her own. Yeah. And I love that. I love that about her.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. You said it perfectly. She's a hero.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that's kind of what we see with all of these combatants here. None of them are trying to protect themselves at the expense of everyone else. They all seem like they're very good teammates. Yeah. We don't know if they're good people in terms of what they do. Just the fact that they're villains means they've probably done some bad stuff. Doesn't mean they're evil, necessarily, but...
Right. I guess the big exception being Kaiser, who's not on the page here. He was the...
No, true. We do have specific reason to believe that Kaiser is a terrible person, personality-wise, is terrible in his beliefs, does awful things to people, and is not a good teammate to everyone else here. Right. Although even he, it seems, is holding off Lung by himself, or, with his two teammates. He is not letting down the others on the team. That we can tell. So
right. But yeah, he sort of did a pre-combat mini betrayal. Yes.
And that really is exceptional in this group of villains fighting together. It seems like, you have Labyrinth supporting Sundancer when she bends over. You have the snipers, saving bitch and, fighting even when they've been dropped off a roof and they really have an excuse to just lie there and suffer. But no.
Right.
Neuter, running in.
I also want to say, building on this, Taylor's being a hero thing, I think she, by her actions, is creating the circumstances that let Labyrinth and the sniper team step up.
I think that's true.
Because if Taylor doesn't run in to save Neuter and save Bitch probably stays in the building, probably gets taken out by Oni Lee, and then Oni Lee comes out and is able to, pick people off one at a time. The fact that she runs in and is okay, bitch, we're going up here, we're going on the offensive, is what lets everybody else... respond and kind of follow that lead, and maybe is like, oh, well, we're not going to let her show us up, right? I guess we are a team. Somebody has to
create a culture. And
right.
I think Neuter was also doing this very effectively last chapter, creating this culture of we're actually all fighting together and we have each other's backs.
Yeah. And maybe if Neuter had been a little more of a jerk, Taylor wouldn't have been so quick to run in and save him. So
no, that is true.
It's not just Taylor.
It's really impressive the level of trust that these capes all have for each other, considering that, they're all villains and they're all in different villain teams.
Yeah, and what we expected from the leaders around the table at the beginning of the arc was that they would all be jockeying.
Yeah.
And we don't see anything like that in this chapter.
That's not what we're seeing from these teammates at this time.
Right.
I mean, none of these people are leaders except for Kaiser, and he's the one who was kind of pulling the political BS of I'll go around the other side.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Labyrinth?
I would love to.
That was really intriguing.
Can I read the extended description of what they see? So, Taylor and Bitch are retreating. As we approach Sundancer and Labyrinth, the sidewalks on either side of us dropped out of existence, leaving only a bottomless pit where they had been. The fuck? I murmured. Then the buildings began to rise in height, some leaning over the street and joining with the others in grotesque arches and bridges. Brickwork stretched and extended into the alleyways, closing them off. Then windows began to shrink and warp, leaving only flat expanses of brick, concrete, and stucco for the building faces. Under our feet, the road began to shift in color, with some patches becoming paler and others darkening. They sharpened in definition as they settled into an alabaster white and jet black. A checkerboard? And later Taylor's like, hey Labyrinth, this you? Labyrinth acknowledges that it's her by dismissing the vision.
Yeah, so she reaches out and touches Taylor's face and then waves at Bitch's head, and so I guess we're supposed to assume. So when she touches Taylor's face, it says, the images of arches, pillars, and checkerboard patterns fell away like a house of cards. And then it's implied that Bitch can also now see through them. Taylor says, hallucinations. And Labyrinth looks at her and shakes her head slowly. They're not hallucinations? She didn't reply. You can't explain because you can't or don't talk. So we learn that Labyrinth doesn't talk. Yep. We don't really have any sense why. And we learn that they're somehow not technically hallucinations. But they're also not real. It's not Vista's power. She's not actually manipulating the landscape in this way.
Right.
But it's somehow in people's heads.
Yeah, so what do you make of it? It's a really confusing power.
Yeah.
But how do you have any theories on, it's not a hallucination? How is it affecting Taylor and Oni Lee if it's not a hallucination? Or, what is that,
Yeah, almost like hypnosis or something. But she's not doing it to each individual person. You kind of get the sense it's like a mass hallucination, if anything. I mean, illusions, I guess. Is an illusion different from a hallucination? Is that meaningfully different enough that she would be like, no, it's not hallucinations, it's illusions?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Oni Lee, there's a bit, I think Bitch runs up to him and he doesn't react, even though he should be able to see her, which kind of makes sense. And then he's trying to avoid some things. But then there's this bit, he appeared 15 feet in the air, fell, and landed in an awkward position, falling over. So
he must have seen a heightened piece of ground.
Right. So what that means to me is that, he is seeing things that aren't there, which is a pretty good definition of hallucination. So, what is Labyrinth getting at?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't have a good explanation.
Yeah.
I'm also intrigued. I wonder if her not talking is at all connected to her power. She also has this, really impassive thing going on where she just, doesn't react. She doesn't show emotion.
Yeah.
She was the only one, aside from Taylor and Bitch, who didn't respond to the spray of blood from Brutus. And that seems like maybe it's just part of her personality.
Yeah. Intriguing.
Yeah. There's a labyrinth that seems to be very much like Labyrinth of the Mind.
Yeah.
This way of twisting the world.
Yeah. I'm very intrigued. I don't know that I can offer theories about it.
No.
But definitely something I hope we hear more about soon.
Yeah. We didn't learn that much about Sundancer. She got a little injured, but it's not the worst that she's had. I'm not sure we saw anything from Bitch that, adds to our characterization. We did see Brutus get his eye stabbed out.
Oh.
I don't know that it will heal when he shrinks back down. I hope that it will, but probably not. It doesn't feel like that kind of world.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye in for Brutus.
Yeah.
And
I did predict that one of the Undersiders was going to lose a body part. I did not mean the dogs.
no, the dogs should be perfect and whole.
Yes.
And unharmed.
Yes.
And live forever.
Yes. That is my desire. Thank you for affirming it. So there have been some injuries, but nothing debilitating at this point. Even Brutus seems to still be fighting. Oh, we didn't talk about the way that Oni Lee's doubles dissolve into ash. Speaking of Buffy, that is very much a dead vampire
That's so funny, yeah.
reaction.
Well, that's also a really fun little power thing, because it happens, and then you realize he can use it defensively. Because, when he goes over to
weaponizes it against the snipers.
Exactly.
Several of my clones dissolved, and now you can't see well enough to shoot at me.
Yeah. On the other hand, if you create a cloud of ash and then push a guy off the roof out of it and don't create a cloud of ash at the bottom...
I mean, you'd think once you pushed him off the roof, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah. I mean, I love this guy. I don't know if Coil's soldier in this chapter is an exemplary specimen.
Oh, you love the soldier. I thought you loved Oni Lee. I was like, he's cool, but...
Oni Lee's power is cool, but I can't...
We don't have a reason to love him.
Yeah, he's just a power running around doing stuff. There's no there at this point.
True.
The sniper, though, I want to know, are all of Coil's guys like this? Or is this guy exceptional in some way?
Yeah, is he the Blorbo of the Coil gang?
Exactly, yeah. He is my Blorbo.
Oh, do you think we'll see him again and he'll be really excellent and cool?
I don't know. Or maybe he'll just disappear into the ranks of Coil's men, and in a future chapter when we see one of Coil's one of Coil's soldiers killed at any point, it could be this guy. We don't know.
No.
Maybe we don't know.
I'm not going to be okay with any deaths among Coil's gang. Wow, way to pull that off, narrative. Sorry, but also this guy I feel like would face death bravely and well.
Yeah. I mean, or I could just be misleading you, and we're going to get
He's going to be our new main character.
Herman Snipes interlude where, we learn all about his backstory and...
Yeah, all of his unread emails that he
can
didn't
be
get to
Taylor's
before
new
he was
mom.
killed. Ooh. Okay, you said this wasn't a super queer book, but do we think that Danny will turn out to be gay?
And in love with Coil Sniper.
Yes, okay. This is my new favorite theory. My theory that's most likely to turn out to be correct.
Absolutely.
Forget Emma having a power. It's all about Danny and Mr. Sniper.
Herman Snipes.
Herman Snipes. My mistake. That's what they say about Danny when they're misgendering him. Herman Snipes.
Oh, no. Well, I don't have more to say about the chapter proper. We got a little bit of a prediction from you earlier, but do you want to elaborate on that at all?
I think they're going to face off against Loong. Yeah.
How's that going to go?
It's going to go really badly, at least for a while.
Okay.
I do think they're going to be victorious in the end. Yeah, let me think about what the takeaway will be from this battle. I mean, I think they'll pull off a victory, but it'll be really tough. I think there'll be some tension with Kaiser, because I think he's going to come into the fighting more once they start fighting Loong, once the sort of two sections of the battle merge. And, unlike everyone else we've been fighting with, we will have reasons to doubt his loyalty.
Yeah.
I think we're going to emerge from this with some new bonds to some of the other villain gangs.
Okay, like that.
I want to see Sundancer's power against Loong. I think that's going to be cool.
Very cool. Now, how does this leave the situation between Taylor and Loong?
Ooh, what a good question. I think he's going to manage to strike a blow against her.
Ooh.
I mean, it's tough because, as we saw in this chapter, she is aware of the danger of getting hit in the head again, and it's actually a super bad idea for her to be going into combat right now. She's not done healing. And, the worst thing you can do for a concussion is get hit again when you haven't finished recovering. So, hopefully that's not going to happen, because we want her to be in good shape going forward. But I do think I think they'll both manage to do damage to each other. I don't think it's going to happen, but I hope she manages to finish off his dick.
Wow.
Yeah. We were saying it's the rule of threes. Someone's dick has to go for good, and we have Loong back on the page, so...
All right, so a castration by the end of the arc. That's what we're expecting. Prediction locked in.
Oh, I mean, that would be so terrible.
Jenny says with a huge grin on her face.
So, spoiler for, I want to say season 2 of Game of Thrones. Literally, the moment I stopped watching was when dick gets cut off. So, but it's, it's different on the screen, and also that was a torture situation, not combat. Very different circumstances.
All right, yeah. So it's fair game, castration, and combat. Show me in the unwritten rules where it says you can't cut Luke's dick off again. Show me.
Hang on. Unwritten, Ted. Unwritten. All right, any last thoughts? Last questions?
No.
No new cape names?
No new cape names. Yeah, oh, wait, there's one. Loom 2?
Is that his dick?
I don't know. There's no new cape names.
All right, then do you want to read me the first line of the next chapter?
Oh, yes, I do. I didn't like leaving Labyrinth behind.
But someone needed to guard our backs. But I didn't want to leave the sniper. I didn't want to leave Herman Snipes alone either.
It's a little less nice than that, but you'll have to find out.
Intriguing. Okay, well, once we stop this recording,
it's not
I'll
super
read
not
the
nice.
rest
It's
of the
just,
sentence.
Yeah, it's just like, that's not the sentiment that's being communicated with the butt.
Oh, is it? But her power wasn't going to be useful in close combat?
More or less.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, more or less that sentiment.
All right, makes sense. Oh, I do think they'll rescue Neuter and he'll be fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Neuter will survive.
Yeah,
he'll
be re-neutered. Longstick will not. Exactly. I mean, it's really Loom who's going to be neutered is the actual takeaway here. Maybe Neuter has to do it. That's his actual power. Like, he has all the other stuff too,
spit
obviously. But his hallucinogenic spit is particularly effective against genitals.
It would make sense.
That's why he's called Neuter. Also, he looks like a newt, but that's just a happy coincidence. We should probably stop now.
All right. Till next time.
On Inchworm.
Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildvote. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.